Welcome to the second installment in the Knowing Christ discipleship course at Tip City Global Methodist for the youth. Today we're going to look at the Logos Teaches, the message and words of Christ. First session we covered some necessary entry into knowing Jesus. That's prophecy. Look at a little Christophany. That's Jesus' sightings in the Old Testament before the incarnation, and then his actual incarnation in the grotto, which is the manger. The manger is actually the little trough there, but the grotto was the cave in which Jesus was born in. So let's get into this second week, the Logos Teaches. So we're going to start off by looking at what exactly does this word Logos mean. So we're going to go to John, the Gospel of John, chapter 1, and look at the first 5 verses here. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." When people read that, it's immediately like, what is going on in here? What exactly is this? The word, the logos, is a Greek term. And it means kind of like ultimate knowledge, understanding, truth. So in the beginning was the truth, and the truth was with God. So if we look at this little image I've got here, so let's just kind of unpack this. Let's just say this is God, he's spirit. And he is essentially creating. Let there be birds. So the mind of God is the active agent, and Jesus is the self-expression of the mind of God. He is the Logos. So he is the one doing the actual creating of the birds. God, the mind, Jesus, creation. That's kind of what we got going on here. The Logos is the self-expression of the mind of God. And the Logos also, listen, signifies the communication of God's will and truth to humanity. It's the expression, the action to humanity, and that is Jesus Christ. He's that active self-expression of the mind of God. It's a pretty deep concept, but you have to get that first before you understand the teachings of Christ. All right, let's move on. The main chunk of teachings are found in the book of Matthew in what are known as the Sermon on the Mount. I got an opportunity to go visit where they call it the Mount of Beatitudes. Beatitudes was beatus, which means blessed in Latin. And if we look at these, I've got them pulled up here. If we look at these on Bible Gateway, I'm going to slide this over a little bit here so you can still kind of see them. Now, then Jesus saw the crowds, went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." What's poor in spirit mean? The longest time growing up, I had no idea what that meant. When you look into it, it's not really looking at people that are just beat up or whatever. Poor in spirit means it's not those lacking hope, so to speak. It's those that have humility, that have humbled themselves, and that need are looking for something greater. It comes from to kas, which means to cower. To cower a little bit. So the poor in spirit, those that kind of have a humble nature to them, maybe a withdrawal, a reserved nature to. Jesus is saying this kingdom is for you because I'm going to fill up that empty spirit. Now the problem with this is if your spirit is full of self-indulgence and ego, you give no room, there's no deficiency in spirit for Jesus to pour his spirit into you. So what Jesus is essentially saying, if you are poor in spirit, that's a good thing because I'm going to put my spirit in you. You have given me room and I will lift you up. So I want you to look up Psalm 40:17. I want you to look that up real quick. Psalm 40:17. There's a connection that we can make with this passage with Psalm 40:17. So if you look up Psalm 40:17, it says, "But as for me, I am poor and needy. May the Lord think of me. You are my help and my deliverer. You are my God. Do not delay." That's actually David's writing that. Psalm 40 is just an amazing psalm. If you want to look at a good psalm, that one's it. Obviously, 23 and 27 are very good. 119, 180, they're all good, but 40 is just packed full of good stuff. And that one right there, David is saying, you are. But as for me, I am poor. And David, David's a king. And he's saying he's poor. His spirit, he wants the Spirit of God in him. All right, let's go on. Let's go down to the fifth one here. Verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the meek. Who are the meek? Who are the meek? The meek are those, they use the word praos anav. Praos anav is the Greek there, and it means gentle, or those that refrain from dominating. And these are people that need some empowerment. They need to be equipped. Those in ministry, we look for people to equip. The meek just need the power of the Spirit that Jesus is going to bring to set them in motion. They're waiting for that. And he's saying, blessed are you. You guys are going to inherit. You're going to be the foundation of this kingdom. Because I'm going to lift you up to a new level. So there's some more here, and for sake of time, we're not going to go through all of these, but it may be a good, at some time, maybe a good thing for you to do is just to go through and do an in-depth study with it. So if you look at the whole chapter there, and the next verses 13 and 14 talk about this salt and light concept. So verse 13 says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses saltiness, how can it be made salty? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." So what is he talking about salt? Well, a couple things about salt, and I've got them here. Salt's value in the ancient world stemmed from its indispensable role in food. There's no refrigerators. You had to have salt to preserve meat. It was also essential in economic systems, health practices, cultural practices. It's not just a commodity, but it's a cornerstone of ancient life. And then we get the word salary from the Latin word salarium, which refers to a portion of Roman soldiers' wages. They got paid in salt. So salt is Meaning, this is another example where you got to understand the context. You read that there, like salt's the only thing that goes on that is French fries. Where's my fries at? I need my salt with my fries. But in the ancient world, salt was very, very valuable. It was a preservation model. And what Jesus is saying, I need you to preserve my teachings. I need you to preserve the goodness that I bring, the message that I'm giving. You need to be versatile when you advance in the kingdom of God. You've got to be able to preserve the message. And that message, as we move into the message is, you are light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Remember the little song, This Little Light of Mine? Don't put that light under the bowl. Let your light shine before others, so you can see that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You are our light of the world. So you need to preserve the message and let it flow through you outwardly to draw others to Jesus. So let's look at a couple of these here that kind of, in the New Testament, that kind of embolden this message here. Let's go down here to... Go back. Okay, here's Colossians 4, 5, and 6. Paul's writing to Colossus. Be wise in the way you act toward, I love this verse. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. There it is, that preservation of it. You want the saltiness of it. To not cause things to dry up. You want to preserve the message that Jesus is bringing. Then John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That is pure truth right there. So you see the message of Jesus and his teachings there are carried out by the apostles. Paul writing about the saltiness, and then John writing about light. So that's a key to the teachings of Jesus, to be salt and light. All right, let's move on. So I've got a number of different passages I want you to look up and just kind of capture the theme in each of these passages. So let's first go to Matthew 22, 37 through 39. Matthew 22, 37 through 39. So Jesus has been asked by the Pharisees about what's the most important commandment. And then Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is like total commitment to God through love. That's the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, this is not new. This has been a message that has continually been impressed upon God's people throughout both the Old and New Testament. Let's look at Deuteronomy 6:4. If you're Jewish, you would know that as the Shema. Is the Shema. Listen, Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. This is basically a monotheistic statement that the Jews had to bind to their head. God told them to do that. I'm your God. I'm one. And the Lord is one. I am the one for you. Leviticus 19:18. Do not seek revenge or bear grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Both of these are in the Old Testament with the Shema and this verse in Leviticus as well. So what exactly does this mean? These are the foundation of the life of followers of Jesus Christ. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. And then love your neighbor as yourself. These are foundational teachings that Jesus expressed. They were expressed in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. All right, let's go to Matthew 20:26. Now, Jesus is talking about, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Ooh. You must be their servant. So this is Magos, the great Magos, and its servanthood and humility are the theme here. Jesus talks a lot about, I have come that they may have light and have it abundantly. He also says, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So servanthood and humility is a huge part of Jesus' teachings. Let's go to Luke 6:37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. And that's good teaching. Very similar to kind of what we talked about in the golden rule there. But these are ethical truths that you restrain from taking the throne, having that king complex. You restrain from that, the posture of humility. Matthew 25:40. Matthew 25:40. The king will reply. Truly, when he says truly, he's saying amen. It means pay attention. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Man. The word benevolence, kindness, generosity is contagious. And Jesus is showing that. That was his nature, his kindness and gentleness towards others. He could handle himself, though, in an argument and produce truth, but his nature was to be loving. And in 8:34, he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. In a sense, Jesus is saying, if you really want to follow me, you're going to have to save yourself. You've got to lose yourself. The flesh. When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. That's the same way with us. You have to take up your cross and follow me. You have to deny yourself. And that's hard to do in a broken world. And then last, John 14:6, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. He is the bridge builder. He is your connector to get to God. He absorbs sin. He takes away the sin, allowing God's Spirit to retain the original image-bearing quality so you can share in the life of God in self-giving love and community and be with him for eternity. That's a pretty big job to do. That bridge, that chasm of sin is pretty deep, but he can get the bridge going for you to get across from it. So, I know that's just a quick thing, but just jot down some key insights on his teachings. Did you come up with any themes out of the themes as well? All right. We'll see everyone next time. And